the San Antonio Spurs aren't trading any of their young guys because the dynasty is here.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
What is up, San Antonio Spurs fans? Welcome to TSR Sports. I did a few videos recently talking about the Spurs possibly trading away some of their young guys. But you know what? I don't think they're going to be trading anybody. I think these pieces we have of this puzzle are very underrated. I'm going to get into this video on why I think the San Antonio Spurs dynasty is going to happen sooner than later. Drop a comment down below. Let me know your thoughts on this. Hit the thumbs up if you like to support the channel. Fast, free, fun, nutritious, and delicious. And subscribe for more Spurs content. We'd love you to have to join our Spurs community. We have a lot of fun here. Whether we agree or disagree, it's a wonderful community. We'd love to have you be a part of it. Anyway, let's get into the video. Of course, it all starts off with Victor Wembanyama. The Spurs will be drafting him #1 overall in the next few weeks. And the question is he the next Tim Duncan, the next David Robinson, somewhere in between, the next Greg Oden? Time will tell, but I think we're going to be okay, and I think he's going to be a perennial all-star for many years to come, and ceiling is just unbelievably high. Very high, because he's really tall, too. Anyway, let's talk about the other components of this team. I don't want to start off with a player I see being talked about a lot about possible getting traded for another draft pick in the first round in this coming draft. And that, of course, is Keldon Johnson. He's 23 years old. He's on an extremely team-friendly contract that descends over the next 4 years. That's right, it goes down. Usually these contracts go up. And in his second and third year, when he was a second option, third option, fourth option, sometimes maybe the last option, he was very efficient from the field. 47% field goal, 38% from beyond the arc, and 75% free throw shooter. His efficiency was way down this year, but defenses were focusing in on him. He was playing in a different lineup every week. This was, let's be honest, this is kind of the team tank thing. He was set up to fail. So all things being said, I think Keldon was pretty good last year. The only thing I think he really needs to work on is his defense. You could say that about the entire Spurs team, though, based on the defense we saw last year. I think he's going to be a much better offensive player for us this coming season when teams aren't focusing in on him. Up next, the other cog in the wheel, Devin Vassell is 22 years old. He's currently on his rookie contract pending an extension. And Spurs fans, I do think he's going to sign a similar contract to Keldon. Maybe 18, 19, 20 million a year over the next 4 years, but I do expect Devin Vassell to re-sign with us. And he has shown the ability to be a 3-level scorer, strong defense, great on the wing, and Spursy. Now, what do I mean by Spursy? Unselfish team basketball, and he also has a high basketball IQ. Devin was injured last year and was part of that team tank, so I absolutely do not think we've seen the best basketball from him. I was very impressed last year when he showed us the ability to finish at the rim, create shots in the paint, and of course be a three-point shooter. Got a high ceiling, and I think next year for Devin and Keldon, we're going to see really big seasons out of both of them. I think some players in the league, maybe some fans might be sleeping on both of them, especially on Keldon. I really think Keldon's going to have a bounce back year. I hope I'm right on that for obvious reasons. Jeremy, you don't mess with the Sochan. 20 years old, he's on his rookie contract between $5 to $7 million a year. Sochan has shown us the ability to defend the 1 through 5. He's smart, he's physical, he's versatile. He's definitely our best finisher at the rim right now, being a legit lob threat. Having Wemby there as well is going to give us another lob threat where Wemby, I'm sure, will barely have to jump to throw it down. But just the progression we saw from Jeremy from the start of the season to the end of the season. My goodness, the kid was willing to do one-handed free throws to improve his game. That says a lot about his character because if you're shooting one-handed free throws, the media, the press, the news, fans, the Twitter, social media, whatever it may be, are going to give you crap about it. He didn't care. He did what was best for him to get better at the game and what was better for the team. Says a lot about him. Strong mentality. So I think he also has a very high ceiling. Forget the colored hair. Don't look at the tattoos, the colored hair, and compare him to Dennis Rodman. They're not the same player. I don't think he's ever going to be the level of a rebounder of Dennis Rodman, but he's already probably a better scorer than Dennis Rodman ever was. So he has a very bright future as a San Antonio Spur. He's going to be a very important piece of that dynasty we're talking about. Up next, Malachi Branham, also drafted last season after Jeremy Sochan. He might be our 6th guy off the bench. He's also on his rookie contract between $3 and $5 million a year over the next. Let me hide myself for a second. Between $3 and $5 million over the next 3 years. He's also shown the ability to be a 3-level scorer, to finish at the rim, mid-range jumpers, and a 3-point shot. And in a 10-game stretch last year, Spurs fans, when he was playing 32 minutes a game, and I believe he started 9 of those games, he put up pretty darn good numbers. 50% from the field, 39% from beyond the arc, 76% from the line, and 18 points per game. He's another one of those players where I think their ceiling's going to be fairly high, and the Spurs are really just these young guys, the way they're developing them. The league should be scared if all these guys turn out to be as good as I think they're going to be. Wait a minute. Yeah, I said that. So I'm very excited to see where Malachi Branham goes, and maybe, just maybe, one day he becomes a starter with us. But I think he's going to give us a lot of offensive firepower off the bench next season. And then we have the diamonds in the rough that the Spurs seem to find every so often. Julian Champagnie, I expect him to re-sign with the Spurs, was a just spark plug off the bench, gave us some great three-point shooting. Then we have players like Mamu Sandro-Kelsveli, also spark plug off the bench. The Spurs just have these ways to find these players that other teams kind of disregarded and get something special out of them. So I think that's another going to be a big part with the Spurs moving forward. Is they're going to get those special players, those special projects, and turn them into something better than what we thought. Spurs also have a ton of draft picks, and this is just over the next 3 years. They have a bajillion draft picks up to 2029, and this is where I expect the Spurs to make the trades the most, to start moving this draft capital to get a better pick somewhere else. They might package in a vet with that, but they have a lot of capital to continue to build their dynasty. Speaking of building a dynasty, you also need some cap space, and the San Antonio Spurs have a ton of that. They are projected to have over $30 million in cap space next season, and they could have up to $40 million, but I know there's an NBA new laws with the contracts where if you have too low of a salary cap, you can actually get penalized. So I think the Spurs are going to do whatever they can to make sure they're over that limit and not get hit with another penalty or get hit with a penalty. But they have cap space, and the cap space, that could encourage players maybe to come to San Antonio when they wouldn't. Not necessarily cap space, but getting a chance to play with Wemby. If he becomes what we think he's going to be, Spurs fans, that could lure free agents. And the Spurs are the type of team to build a championship, not buy a championship. So they're not going to be like, all right, let's discount rack. Let's get discount rack James Harden, who's pushing 38. And I'm talking a few years from now. And discount rack this guy, and discount rack this guy. Just want to throw together a super team and win a championship. I don't see us doing that. We're not the Lakers. Sorry, Lakers fans. It is what it is. Your team currently, Karl Malone and Gary Payton jumped ship many, many years ago to try an easy championship. It happens, and they're one of the teams that's pretty notorious for it, like it or not. I don't think the Spurs going that route, but we could get a free agent, maybe a young free agent, maybe. I don't know. Austin Reeves has been talked about a lot. Oddly enough, I'm seeing just articles everywhere about that, and I covered that 10 days ago. Now I'm like, wait, does this make really happen? Because now it's getting just covered left and right. I was just more doing a video on the Spurs to pursue him. It looks like there's a chance he could come here. Who knows? And then last but not least, the final piece of this dynasty we cannot forget is Greg Popovich. I don't know how much longer Greg Popovich is going to coach the San Antonio Spurs. Could be 1 year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years. Even if he retires in the next few years, I think he's always going to be part of the San Antonio Spurs organization. He's always going to be part of the front office until he physically can't, or he's not with us anymore. And I'm not trying to be weird by saying that. I just think he's a Spur for life, and I think he's going to be with the organization in some capacity until he can't be. So there you go, Spurs fans. That kind of wraps it up. I truly do believe the Spurs have something very, very special going on right now with their young talent. We saw the team win some games last year that they shouldn't. Heck, they beat the team in the NBA Finals that's probably going to win the championship in the Denver Nuggets. So when this team is fully healthy, they can really compete. And this is last year. They compete with a lot of good teams. Now we're going to add Wemby to the mix. Hopefully have everybody else on this picture here healthy. And then also have Sochan, Branham, and others have a year of playing together. I'm not saying they're going to be a contender next year. No, we should not expect NBA Finals. We shouldn't even expect playoffs next year, because I do think the Spurs are going to take their time with Wemby next season, incorporate him into the offense, limit his games a little bit. You guys made a good point. I forgot about the new rule with the CBA about you have to play at least 65 games to win awards. So if they'll probably get it right around 65, so he has a chance at that. Otherwise, I don't see him playing back-to-backs. I do see him playing 25 minutes a game, right, somewhere in the mid-20s, maybe high 20s, and it's going to be a fun ride. And what I do expect, and what I think will happen, is I do think the Spurs will champions again within the next 5 years. Maybe even sooner. I want to thank you all so much for tuning in. And as always, earphone users beware. Go Spurs, go!
And when I feel like this, I'm immortal. When I feel like this, I'm immortal.